Hello and welcome to the Strategic Bookkeeper Podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about how you run your practice in order to create a thriving practice rather than a busy practice. So recently, a bookkeeper who is also a well-known bookkeeping mentor here in Australia, she is fabulous, but I'll keep her identity confidential. She said to me, Jeannie, I've heard that you help bookkeepers who are busy to make more money from their existing clients. So I've heard you help bookkeepers who are really busy, but not really making enough profit and working too many hours. I've heard you help them to make way more profit with actually working less and with just the same client base. So not solving that problem with more work, but actually fixing the business model in order to fix the problem that they've got, right? So the answer is yes, that's what I do. It was very insightful for someone to say that to me. And actually, she asked me, how could we work together for me to help her community, which is really exciting. So this episode is for what I call the busy bookkeeper. Okay, when we jump in, I'm going to define the busy bookkeeper because the busy bookkeeper is not the thriving bookkeeper. Everything has the meaning we give it, right? So let's jump into the episode. You're going to learn lots. So I'll see you in there. I'm Jeannie Savage, the Strategic Bookkeeper. I've been in practice for 14 years, but more importantly, 5 years in, I achieved a lifestyle practice. This means I scaled my business, could take my hands off the wheel, and draw a nice six-figure income while being time rich. And that's what I call my dream on my terms. I was recently awarded Women in Finance Innovator of the Year, recognizing my book, my podcast, my program, and my impact globally. The Strategic Bookkeeper is my life's work, and the opportunity to help bookkeepers globally achieve the income and lifestyle that sets them free absolutely fills my cup. Please do connect with me on socials at the Strategic Bookkeepers Way private Facebook group or shoot me an email, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global. Okay, so this wonderful bookkeeping buddy of mine who is really passionate about helping bookkeepers with more the technical bookkeeping side of things in Australia particularly. So that's where she works. I work with bookkeepers all over the world, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. I work with bookkeepers everywhere. Now, she said to me, in Australia, and I do think this is probably something that bookkeepers all over the world are feeling, she said they're really, really stressed out. So I wanted to know, okay, explain what they're stressed about. And she said, well, in Australia, or one of the things that they're stressed out about is that there are changes to compliance, okay? She said, number two is this busy bookkeeper. So booked, but broken. That is such a mouthful. That's when she said, I heard you help these people. And then the third one was that there were many bookkeepers saying, I just can't find clients. Okay. So these three things, interestingly, they were already very much on my mind. I mean, they've always been on my mind. But now that I've had the Strategic Bookkeeper Transformation Program, my signature program, going for, as I record this, just a little shy of 2 years, and I've just learned so much. I call these kind of archetypes, like a startup bookkeeper needs to find clients. A bookkeeper in practice either needs to find clients or they're booked up, but it hasn't translated into the results that they were expecting, right? But there's the two types, startup bookkeeper, bookkeeper in practice, and then those things. So absolutely, this is where I live. However, I'm always asking myself how I can solve these problems in a way that works for you. Okay. So in a way that you say, yes, I can understand that and I've got time to understand that and I can implement that. And I feel like the support you're giving me is what I need. Okay. So that's what I'm thinking of. With some of the podcast content that I'm going to give you now and into the next kind of episodes, I am probably going to focus on these key problems that bookkeepers face. So let's start by diving into the busy bookkeeper. So how I define the busy bookkeeper, which I always understood before I launched into the strategic bookkeeper, but now I understand more. Okay. So the busy bookkeeper, as I define it, is not the thriving bookkeeper. In fact, an example of the thriving bookkeeper is one of my tribe members contacted me not long ago. I love getting these stories of success, and it's beautiful when people contact me. And she said she just wanted to share results. And I think I shared it on another podcast, but in a nutshell, I think 18 months after starting to work together, she is working 15 hours a week. She is making well over $100,000 a year for herself. And so she's got the beautiful income, beautiful time, because she's a mum, like most bookkeepers I serve, like myself. So that was her dream, right? To have a really nice 6-figure income, but also not work very much. And she's got, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 team in place. And she also said the other really important thing, this is very important to understand when it comes to the busy bookkeeper problem, is that she has achieved that 66% gross profit or above. So that means for every $100 she makes, after cost of sales is only 33%, then she's able to have 66% of that as gross profit. Now, the busy bookkeeper, one of the things that happens is that gross profit is much lower. In a bookkeeping practice, our operations expenses under the gross profit should be quite low. We shouldn't have a lot of operational expenses, and therefore the net profit should come out very high as well. So my friend, she is a thriving bookkeeper. That's what it looks like. Okay. So it looks like a specific strategic income target that looks like financial management that gives you a specific gross profit. And then it looks like a specific net profit and a 6-figure take-home pay. Okay. Which leads me to the Bookkeeping Practice Blueprint. So I have a 1-pager that we put in the show notes every time. Okay. I talk about this a lot. So go to the show notes, grab the Bookkeeping Practice Blueprint 1-pager, and I've also got the book out now. Okay, so the book is out now, so you can grab the Bookkeeping Practice Blueprint. You can grab it as an audiobook as well, because in terms of financial management, so I just said, for example, it's a strategic revenue. So if I'm looking at the Bookkeeping Practice Blueprint, in a nutshell, strategic revenue means that you've planned for success. Like you haven't just gone out and acquired clients and hoped for the best and just hoped that the profit plopped out at the end, right? Which, yeah, been there, done that. I did that in my first 5 years, okay? And that led to me being that busy bookkeeper, the turnover going up, but the profit and the time wealth wasn't there. So strategic revenue being that you really understand how to bring on clients with the right products and pricing and the right staffing solution in order to have that turn into highly profitable and raving fan clients, okay? So this is about build a thriving practice, delight your clients, and then get the privilege of your dream on your terms. Just to explain that thriving bookkeeper before we move on, because you're going to get a result if you commit to learning more and then building what you need to build and then implementing, right? So if you listen to episode 74 of this podcast, you'll hear plan for success. And then 7567, you'll get pricing for profit and joy. And that will explain a lot of what you need to know about what I just said there, about strategic revenue and strategic financial management. Number one, in terms of financial management, and I talk about this in the new book, the Bookkeeping Practice Blueprint, is that you need to hire staff that the business can afford. Not hire staff that you like, yeah? You work for your business, okay? And you need to show up in a way that you work for the business. So the business is going to give you information that comes from the financials, and you have to act on that information whether you like it or not. So you need to employ staff the business can afford so that you get that 66% gross profit, but you also need to use products and pricing and the appropriate system, right? Which on the blueprint that I'm looking at here, you've got 3 parts to that. You can look at them in your own time and you can read the book to see them. But when you've got the products and pricing right and the staffing solution right in terms of financial management, then you're going to get that 66% gross profit, okay? It's what we get. It's what everyone in my program gets. And you can get that. And the thriving bookkeeper that we just talked about, let's call her Heidi. So she's getting that because she's set her business up according to my blueprint that you've got access to. Then that means she's getting the income. She's getting the raving fan clients that come from having everything in place. And then she's getting the time off for herself. So now we know that's the thriving bookkeeper, okay? Then the busy bookkeeper is reasonably simple, okay? So the busy bookkeeper is simply that they are busy and they are booked. So you've got lots of clients working lots of hours. Maybe you've got staff, maybe you haven't. That's okay, either one. But if you don't have staff, it's just that you're working a lot of hours for that income. Generally, the busy bookkeeper has gone and got staff, and we'll talk about that now too. So let's say you're charging out X. So you're bringing on clients, you're charging out a certain amount. When you deduct the cost of your staff doing that work and the cost of software, because a busy bookkeeper will always push back on having to pay for the appropriate software tools because their financial model is broken. So stick with me. We're just going to look at what it is, and then I'll give you a pathway to fix your practice, okay? So the busy bookkeeper's got the revenue. The cost of the staff is too high. You're generally employing local. So let's say you are in America or Australia or anywhere else, but wherever you are employing only local staff. And I'll use one of my tribe as an example. She has 10 on the team. 5 on the team are local, 5 are offshore. If she had to bring all the offshore as local, she'd have to shut her practice and go get a job, because while the practice would still turn a profit, it wouldn't be enough to make it worthwhile, okay? So I'm not here to debate with the ethics and all this stuff of offshoring. That's not what I'm here to do today in this podcast. I'm here to give you the blueprint and the rules of the game, okay? So if you're just hiring local staff, when you go revenue, which the revenue for basic bookkeeping is what the market will bear. Yeah, what the market will bear. That phrase is so powerful. So for double entry accounting technician work, which is what bookkeeping is, also described as preparing numbers. So for the preparation of numbers, the market will bear a certain price, and you can go within a range of that, okay? But once you go over, you wouldn't be competitive, right? So what you're charging out is driven by the market. Then if you're employing exclusively local staff and you're not selling high value, highly profitable advisory products as well, like if you're not doing that, it's a double whammy, then your gross profit is going to be lower than 66%. So the other whammies, or the things that I find happen to the busy bookkeeper, is they're charging hourly, they're charging lower than the bare ass minimum they need to. So as at 9th of May 2025, when I record this podcast, minimum charge out is $100 an hour. So if you're hourly, broken, okay? If your calculated rate, whether it's hourly or fixed price, is less than $100 an hour, broken. If you're doing any quarterly low value work, broken. If you don't understand minimum monthly job charges, broken. If you're charging less than that, okay? If you're not selling advisory, broken. If you're mixing up admin accounts and bookkeeping into a bespoke productized service, broken. So products and pricing has a lot of moving parts, but you can fix it if you go step by step. I did, and you can too. We'll talk about that in a second. In this day and age, adapt or die, that I talk about in my first book, so powerful, so important that you read it, okay? Or listen to the audiobook. It's only 6 hours long. Financial management, play by the rules and play to win. We are in a global economy, so recruit offshore as well as locally, okay? This is what causes the busy bookkeeper to become broken, even though he or she is able to find clients, yeah? And feel like I probably did way back when, like, yay, I'm finding clients. This is all I need to do. The rest will just happen all by itself. So now let's talk about how we fix the broken business model, how we fix this problem for the busy bookkeeper. You're going to do that through mindset, productivity, and mechanics, okay? And all of that is in the Bookkeeping Practice Blueprint book. It's a powerful chapter called Getting It Done. In terms of mechanics, that's the stuff we need to do, okay? Because mindset and productivity gets really in the way of this stuff. For example, you know that you need to completely change your staffing. You think, oh, I know I need to let a staff member go and get a more affordable solution offshore. But it's the mindset, it's the pulling at the heartstrings that stops you doing it, right? So it's not the mechanics. You probably know what to do, or I might be telling you now what you need to do, okay? It is more the mindset. So we need to actually do a couple of things, but not necessarily in this order. So staffing. In terms of the staff that you're paying to do the work, you need to be able to afford them, all right? So we have a recruitment blueprint. If you were the busy bookkeeper starting all over again, what you would do is you would recruit and train a full-time all-rounder offshore at a budget of around $30,000 a year. And that would free up a whole lot of your time to work on the business rather than just in it. Okay. And it would be a highly affordable solution to allow your business to be very financially fit. That's what you need to do. Like if you've employed a local person and you can't afford them, you need to look at changing up that solution. Okay. So just park that in your mind for a second, because the solution is not so linear, like step by step. It's more of an ecosystem, but that is one moving part of the solution. Okay. Number 2, products and pricing. So on that one, I am going to direct you to that episode 75, 76, 77. Listen to 74 as well, because you need to fix your products and pricing. What I said before about you need to make sure that you are not doing the things we talked about a second ago. And if I'm reading from the blueprint, you need a smart, simple suite of products. You need a robust pricing strategy, and you need to incorporate advisory. So when I'm coaching inside my program for the busy bookkeeper, I get them to take a particular sheet we've got called the budget versus actual. That's in our done for you standard operating procedures. I'm telling you exactly what you need to do here. Okay. So if your products and pricing is broken, and you want to do this in conjunction with wrapping your head around how you're going to make changes in your staffing situation. Okay. So you have a spreadsheet like we have the budget versus actual, and you just want to list out in there all your clients and everything about what they're paying, the hours that are on the job, and so on and so on. So look at what's happening now and look at what it needs to look like, okay? And then simply resolve it. Now, simple doesn't mean easy. I get that. When you do that work, you can see what needs to happen. And I'll give you an example. So let's say you've got a client, and we're just going to do round numbers to make this easy. So you're doing 10 hours a week for them, and you're only charging them $70 an hour. And now you know you should be charging them $100 an hour, and it should be a fixed price rate. So you simply have to go back to that client and say to them, my bookkeeping practice is now billing all of our clients fixed price. And so we've got a new product for you, which I'm going to present to you now. So you present them the fixed price option at $100 an hour, and you answer any questions they have, and they move ahead or they offboard, right? So in effect, it is as simple as fix the financial management around staffing, fix the products and pricing, and the profit will skyrocket and your time off will happen, okay? But simple doesn't mean easy. So let's just dive into it a tiny bit more. Another thing that I want you to do, this will probably be like part 3, remembering that this is not linear, it's an ecosystem. But I would actually recommend you do right now, immediately, is draw a line in the sand between legacy and new, okay? Because while fixing your legacy problem is a little more challenging, dealing with new clients, you can decide right now, I'm going to get it all right. I'm going to do all the right things. I'm going to make sure I've got my products and pricing sorted and not broken, okay? And so every new client that comes on, I don't have this problem with. When someone said to me, Jeannie, I've heard that you help busy bookkeepers to make way more profit with the clients they've got rather than actually bringing on new clients. So this is what we're talking about you doing? And I know that if you're the busy bookkeeper, you're going to be saying and feeling the same kind of things that I hear all the time, and they're valid and they're understandable. And that is, I feel like if I try and reprice my clients that way, I'm going to lose all of them and so on. Okay. And yes, fixing your busy but broken bookkeeping practice is like a heart transplant. Okay. So it's going to be a lot of short-term pain and maybe some rehab for a massive, massive, massive long-term gain. Okay. When I do this with other bookkeepers, sometimes they lose a couple of clients. The next thing I will mention before we wrap the podcast is what mitigates the risk. So what really reduces the risk of you losing clients is getting the rest of the blueprint sorted. Okay. This podcast is not intended to be a pitch to join my program. You can join my program. I'd love for you to join my program. Okay. But I will say, if you read my first book, The Strategic Bookkeeper, and you read my second book, so these are really affordable. Okay. My program is what I would call a high ticket, high touch program. Yeah. It's extraordinary, but you've got the option to grab my first two books. So to make it less painful, to make that heart transplant less painful, do you want to learn and build and implement your foundation brand and your brand assets? You want to understand how to build a brochure, how to stack your value, how to overcome objections before they're even raised, so that when you go to do your repricing. So for example, Jen Vanderwell, who you can hear from in our podcast, she's in a singular podcast episode. She's on our success panel. Jen spent a year doubling her pricing and she only lost 2 clients. So she ended up with double her profits, lots more time to herself, really happy clients and less painful clients as well. Okay. Now, Jen said what made her more confident and made this easier around pricing was really the brand and the brand assets. Because when you've got that sorted, then you've got a much stronger competitive advantage and value proposition. And you can build that, okay? You can either use my books and build it yourself. Yes, it will take longer. And yes, it's going to require more effort. Or you can join my program, but there are solutions there. And I will do my best to keep serving you up other digital products and solutions and masterclasses and workshops to help you with all of this as well. Okay. So just another note on what Jen did is that she let her staff go from natural attrition when staff left. Then she brought on that offshore full-time all-rounder. So she reduced her cost of sales as well. And that's how that worked as an example of someone who was a busy bookkeeper and fixed it all. I do hope that you got value out of this episode. I always like to hear from you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, my friend, now it is time to take action. So what are you going to do with what you learned today? The way I see it, you've got 2 options. You can go it alone to try and save some money, or you can back yourself and go for it and join my tribe. And let me tell you, we are knocking it out of the ballpark. That's not a sales pitch. That is me serving you, dare I say, courageously. To find success, I 100% know you need the mechanics, which is like the keys to the kingdom, but you also need to get your mindset right and be super productive. And these are all things I help you with inside the program. I could go on about this forever because I really want this for you. Have a prosperous week, and I'll see you in the next episode.